Your money, marriage, and media, and adjust that position there. Yeah, that's a little bit better. We are back with Anton Daniels and his one-on-one sit down with Brittany Renner, asking the tough questions. Why? Because we need answers for this stuff so we can move forward, and that way we can start to build. I know that's the case for Brittany because she is infamous, right? But if she has a lot to answer for, so if she ever wants to have a relationship at some point, the answer's got to come, right? So today, this title is Brittany Renner says she talk to regular men, but they clout chase. High profile men are cheaters. I think Anton might have something to say about that. Just because he is a high profile guy, and as far as we know, he's not cheating. At least he says that, and his wife says that. So we're gonna take their word for it. So that should be interesting. But anyway, like and subscribe. Remember, 600 subscribers. That's what we're going for. So let's keep it going.
Is to be in flow, right? You're flowing. Masculine is action, taking action, leading.
Correct.
So that's where I'm at in my business, in my household. That's where I'm at. I don't really have an opportunity to.
But when you say a man, you're meeting a lot of men that leading or that's
more
in that
with their femininity, and it's not that femininity is bad. There's a lot of wounded femininity, which is that flightiness, being inconsistent, those types of things. You don't know your direction. So I feel like I've been attracting men that lead with their feminine and they're wounded, and I can't.
You don't want those type of.
Okay, right off the bat, we're jumping right in right off the bat. I 100% take her for her word, just because when you portray, she's given the vibe that she's the breadwinner. I've said this before. A lot of men tend to lead with their wallet. So if you're looking like the breadwinner, the guy automatically thinks you attract feminine men. Because again, most guys are not taught to lead with the dime. Self-discipline, integrity, morals, and ethics, right? There's the definition. It's pretty universal that women are hypergamous. You know what I find interesting is I want to look up the definition of hypergamy real quick, because we need to make sure I'm spelling this right. Hypergamy. Yep, that's what we want to look at. So I want to know the definition of this, because this might help prove my point. Okay, the action of marrying a formal or forming sexual relationship with a person of a superior sociological or educational background. Notice that finance is not in that definition. So I think that what we see today is that we have warped the definition of hypergamy to only include money, right? So let's go ahead and go back to the video, because this helps raise the point, is that a lot of men today, we're raising them to think that women are hypergamous means that they want the man with the most money. That's not always the case. Again, but if the only thing if guys know is to lead with money, well, she's already got the money, so I got to fill the feminine role. You see how we can get that scenario? So again, we got to start teaching men to lead with the dime: discipline, integrity, morals, and ethics. If you're leading with the dime and she is looking for a leader, well, then those things can match up. Again, just because you're the breadwinner doesn't make you head of the household. The leadership skills make you head of the household. Now, whether or not she is trying to be the head of the household, that's debatable. That could be the scenario. That's why she keeps attracting these guys that she doesn't want.
But that's why it didn't work out. I loved the experiences that we had, that normalcy. Like, we're getting tacos and you're holding my hand, like, in public, and we're hanging out with your friends, and your friends remind me of my friends. And
she's not talking about PJ, because that scenario doesn't make sense. It's obviously another guy. It's probably after PJ, maybe, because that was over a year ago. So this is an interesting. Let's go back a little bit, and so we can get. So I just want to make sure I'm getting this picture straight, because especially now that we've updated the definition for hypergamy, right?
That femininity is bad. There's a lot of wounded femininity, which is that flightiness, being inconsistent, those types of things. You don't know your direction. So I feel like I've been attracting men that lead with their feminine and they're wounded, and I can't.
You don't want those type of guys?
But that's why it didn't work out. I
Oh,
loved
okay, I got
the
you.
experiences that we had, that normalcy. Like, we're getting tacos and you're holding my hand, like, in public, and we're hanging out with your friends, and your friends remind me of my friends. And I'm like, this is what I want. And talking to him, I was like, I don't need a guy who's in the league. I don't need a rapper. I just want someone genuine. I don't care what that looks like.
Damn it, I
You
forgot
don't
to
think
check
that
for the
you'll ever have a
preview.
regular relationship, like a normal, hey, listen, we one big family, because a lot of the things that you reference, you say, yo, I want to wear the pajamas on Christmas
Yeah.
and all that other type of stuff. You don't think that that's a realistic goal for you?
In my heart, it's on my heart, so I know it's real. But from what I've seen so far, and feeling kind of like a guinea pig, because I'm one of the OG Instagram girls, like, you know what I mean? There's a handful of us. But
That's why we're reviewing this content, because again, in a lot of ways, she's the prototype for a lot of women that we're going to see in the next 10, probably 5 to 10 years, because they are going to be getting older. Well, what's the future for those women? Don't just tell me, oh, they're just going to die alone. Nah, marriage rates say different, because number one, well, no, numbers say different. Economics say something different. Because again, you remember, the average man does not make enough income to make it to the end of retirement. Neither does the average woman. We're only waiting for survival. We still need each other. So there are going to be a lot of women, very attractive women, who are single in the next couple of years. What do we do about that? Because again, we need each other to rebuild the community. So what are we going to do about that? So that's why we're looking at this, because we've got to start thinking about, okay, instead of thinking, well, no, die alone. Okay, how do we make this work? You're not going to rebuild the community without men and without women. That's just not going to work. We still need each other. So what do we do?
it feels like even if I athlete, rapper, or someone in the industry, that most likely won't be a monogamous, committed, devoted relationship like I clearly feel between you guys. But okay, let me lean into the other direction. He doesn't have to be any of that. I still have to question his motives. Like, I always use this example, but it's like, you date someone who's maybe not in that light, but what happens when that light is shining on them? And now they're getting thousands of bitches, because every man I've ever put on my page got hundreds of bitches.
Yeah, because women tend to be attracted to guys who attract women. So when you sign, that's a tough predicament to be in, because essentially you're leveling up the guy's social status. And recently Andrew Tate said that men go for status. A woman, we're attracted to women who can help improve our status. So that's a tough scenario to be in there. But again, you need to find, she's looking for a guy who is leading with the dime, self-discipline, integrity. See how that works is that you're not going to be able to tempt that a man like that with just, him being clouded up. Now, the other scenario is that she might have to get off social media. Is she going to do that? Probably not. The good news is that I'm assuming that she makes enough currently that she may be able to make it through retirement, being single. So she wouldn't apply in the average woman's scenario. So that is the good thing that comes with her success. And, that gives her some options for life. It narrows down the options for, a relationship, for a marriage and relationship. But, if in her scenario, because she's able to monetize her platform, that gives her a little bit of leeway there. But, yeah.
Bitches that would have never have even wrote them are writing them because that's the dick I'm sitting on. I want to be equivalent to Brittany Renner. So even if you take a normal guy, I hate that term, but a normal guy, okay, so what happens when you put him in an abnormal situation?
Well, he's not used to the limelight anyway, though.
So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I might, And then you don't even take into account too, if I don't date somebody of status, well, that's the best she can get. So is it fucking about true love, or is it about what it looks like to you guys?
Again, see, leading with the dime, that those concerns tend to they don't go away 100%, right? Because nothing's 100%, but they do tend to lessen. And again, it may be that she finds that guy, and he may not want to be in the limelight. Because I've come across that where men tend to avoid the limelight. There are men out there who are not interested in being famous, just because it does come with a headache. Unless there's some other purpose, but then that's a nuanced conversation. Because let's just leave it alone. There are men out there who would prefer to stay out of the limelight. Particularly if, let's just leave it there. That's her struggle, though. She'd have to find somebody who is not interested in growing their social media presence. There are guys out there like that that don't like social media, and that may be the type of man that she's looking for. But you're not gonna find him in a major city. You're gonna have to go. Well, look, I'm not trying to play matchmaker here, so we're gonna keep moving.
You can't win. And quite frankly, why it's hard for me to I can't see it because I'm not meant to see it right now. I'm just meant to keep flipping the page and living my life, right? But it feels impossible because who's gonna sign up for me? Let me finish.
No, I'm just thinking.
Who's going to have the courage to love unapologetically, to tune out all of that noise? She's a whore. She's going to use you. You're such a simp. Who as a man? And I've told you 30 people. Doesn't matter if it's 30 or 300. I've said certain things publicly that I'm going to stand on. What man is going to feel secure enough to date me, feel good enough to be my man, to not feel inadequate and want to talk to other bitches? It's so multi-layered to where it's like, it's not, people think it's someone in the industry or not. They think it's that simple. It's not.
So how do you date? How do you determine?
$1 million question.
Anton, I'm a little disappointed in you, dog. You think dating is dumb. Or maybe it's different. I don't know. Maybe he changed his mind. I definitely think it's dumb. So I would, again, if Brittany's my daughter, no, dating is dumb. And I'm going to definitely be part of the vetting process for guys that are coming around you. And number one. And number two, we're going to shut off the... We're going to find him through other means besides direct messages. So we're going to have to find him, and he's going to be, well, let's just leave it alone.
How do you determine, right? Because, again, I see a trend or I see a pattern, right, in which it seems like the social media way in which somebody reaches out to you is probably the safest way that you feel like somebody can get at you.
Yes.
Okay, let me I got a couple questions now. Just popped in my head. Would you date a normal guy? Would you ever consider just a guy? Let's just say this guy, and he's...
That's interesting.
He's a trainer. I was just talking to a trainer. I really liked him. I really liked him a lot.
What?
That's interesting.
Yes.
I don't believe that.
Yes.
Like a personal trainer?
Yeah.
What the heck? What happened?
Okay, so I am really in my like right now I'm leading with a masculine energy.
Mm-hmm.
I
don't get it. I don't feel that from you in real life. In real life,
dude. This is the guy who says that every woman he's met has been feminine around him. There might be a reason for that, man. Most guys are not Anton. So that's a okay, you guys get the point. If what he says is true about women that are around him, Well, yeah, you wouldn't get that because she respects you. But Brittany has very little respect for most men. I think that's obvious at this point, right?
That is not what. Listen,
But
y'all.
at my core,
real
though.
talk. She is not that. Okay, hold on.
Okay,
Because I got a lot of questions. So let
Okay.
me say this: do you think that a woman's energy, whether she's leaning into her femininity, right, or she's operating in this masculine energy as you described, is based off of the environment that she's in and the man that she's up under?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's
Whoa,
your
whoa, whoa,
environment.
whoa,
Like,
whoa. Bad question. Because if she's not under a man, that makes that answer, that makes it a hard question to answer. Because if I'm not mistaken, we've never heard, Brittany has said nothing about a father figure in her life. So whose protection is she under then? Her own, right? So how do you answer that question if you're under your own protection?
what you have going on, and then I think it could also flip too if you are actually being led by a man. You can't help but
I don't
melt
think it has
as
nothing
a
to do
woman.
with that, though.
No, but okay.
Well, and the reason I say that is because you had a perception before you got in the car. The minute that you got in the car, you let your guard down.
Because I realized I was safe.
How? How did you know you were safe? You had no clue.
Because you're a man.
But you still didn't know me. You didn't know me.
Women's intuition. And trust
Okay,
me, I'm
that's
not.
fair.
And trust me, I'm not. I'm not trying to give you a cookie here for being a good guy. I'm just
No,
saying.
I'm just
but
saying
I'm
that
saying,
you
I'm,
didn't
know.
but I'm-
Intuition.
No, but intuitively, I know. We all know as women. We know who to avoid. Who's a fucking creep. Who's a good person. Even the way that you spoke to your daughter on the phone. I feel like I could cry.
Yeah, he wasn't there when I got
I feel like I could have just cried like, damn, like I wish I had a dad like that. Oh, you just need my Cash App, honey? Here you go. Like, what the hell? Like, can bitches want that? You know what I mean? Like, that's like the ideal world. Like, fuck, I want to be your guys' daughter. You know what I mean? Like, that's the feeling that I got. I'm 30 years old, you know? That's just me being honest with you. But,
Interesting.
you know, but to get to why it didn't work with the trainer is because I feel like I'm super masculine in my household. I am the husband. I am the provider. My mom, because she lives with me. She helps me take care of my son. So she's cooking. We both clean, but she primarily cleans. So I'm the husband. I'm the dad. So I feel like because of that, I've been attracting a lot of men who lead with their feminine energy. And it's not that there's a problem, because that's still a balance.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
But listen, so to be feminine is to be in flow,
Okay.
right? You're flowing. Masculine is action, taking action, leading.
Correct.
So that's where I'm at in my business, in my household. That's where I'm at. I don't really.
Okay, high level conversation. Point of order here. I think I pointed this out the very first. You guys got to go back way back. This is one of the very first videos I did, and I think I made a point that relationships are about balance. They are. However, here's the caveat. What's she leading with? She's leading with, I want to be the masculine one in the relationship. That's what she's falling back to. Because see, a lot of times, particularly in our community, we have an issue with our women because they are this is the issue when you have high earning women, getting them to be able to flip the switch and all of a sudden be feminine. A lot of guys complain about that, right? I think what we have here is a case of that. It's not even that she can't flip the switch. I don't think she wants to. Because again, she's talked about letting her guard down. Well, you have to be in a position to actually want to do that. I do believe that women can turn it off. I think a lot of times they just don't want to. But again, that's why I say, just because you're the breadwinner doesn't make you the leader. It's very important. And I think that women can turn that switch off and be feminine. I think most of the time they don't want to. Why? Lack of trust. Our women are not raised to trust us. We got to do it. That's why I keep saying we got to do a better job of raising our daughters, because they're growing up without us. So, why we can't get mad at the fact that our women don't trust us if the majority of the households, the man's not there. You see how this works? These things are connected, and we've got to, in order to rebuild a community, we've got to start attacking these points at from multiple angles, because again, this stuff is connected. So, well, let's go ahead and finish this video, and I'll come back with the summary because we're almost
We
done
have
here.
an opportunity to
But
really
when you say a man, you're meeting a lot of men that leading or that's
more
in
with
that
their femininity, and it's not that femininity is bad. There's a lot of wounded femininity, which is that flightiness, being inconsistent, those types of things. You don't know your direction. So I feel like
Okay, as men, we all understand what she's talking about because you deal with women. It's just part of their nature, right? I think what I think she's mislabeling a couple things though. See, usually when a guy is being flaky, it's because he's not sure about you. What he's really thinking is, do I really want to deal with all this? Because Brittany is a lot. So, I think that's what's going on in her life. Guys are looking at this like, okay, she wants to be the breadwinner. She's trying to lead. She's got a kid, and I got to deal with her promiscuous past too. Man, she fine and all, but man, bruh, this is a lot. So, it's up to. Let's go ahead and finish.
I've been attracting men that lead with their feminine and they're wounded, and I can't.
You don't want those type of guys?
But that's why it didn't work out. I loved
okay, I got you.
the experiences that we had, that normalcy. Like, we're getting tacos and you're holding my hand, like, in public, and we're hanging out with your friends, and your friends remind me of my friends. And I'm like, this is what I want. And talking to him, I was like, I don't need a guy who's in the league. I don't need a rapper. I just want someone genuine. I don't care what that looks like.
Yeah, this is definitely high level conversation because again, let me reiterate why we're examining content with Brittany Renner, because in a lot of ways she's the prototype for the women, a majority of women that we're going to see who are being single in the next 5 to 10 years, right? These women who are pretty privileged, they're very attractive, but because of because of life, the way they view life, and their philosophies on relationships, the way they viewed them, a lot of these women are going to be single. Okay, but if we're still talking about building a community, then that means we need to figure out ways to make the marriages work. Okay, so what did we learn here? Well, she hit on the point. She hit the nail on the head. Relationships are about balance, and it's going to take finding out that balance, finding out ways of making that balance work in order for us to make it to the end of life. Because again, we still need each other. So ultimately, what did we learn here? Well, in Brittany's case, right, she's leading with masculinity because she's got, she's got a caretaker at home and her mom. So she's got that traditional housewife role being filled, and she just couldn't focus on her career and making money. But the dilemma is that I think ultimately she would prefer a man fill that role for her. But the issue then again is that trust is not there. And we talked about that in previous videos with her about why it's not there either. So as a man, what I would say is for women like that, number one, you got to be able to break down those psychological issues. You got to be able to point them out and say, okay, this is what's going on here. Whether or not you want to actually deal with a woman like that, that's totally up to you. Because again, fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, submissive, childless. The average man is going to take 3 or 4 out of the 6. What those 3 or 4 that he's going to take, it's going to depend on the man. So that's why I say, as a guy, you got to weigh your options here and figure out what is it worth it? Because again, having a child, not a death sentence. Being promiscuous is not a death sentence. Because again, you still have categories that you can be exceptional at. Now, if you got all that stuff together, well, then your options are going to be limited. Obviously, right? But it's not a death sentence. You just makes things harder. You just have to excel more at other things. So I don't know what she's excelling at because we haven't gotten there yet. I don't know if we're going to get there in this conversation, but it does raise an interesting point. The point is that this is some game for the ladies. you know that there are things that bring down your value in the sexual marketplace. Okay, so then you need to focus in on your strengths and find a guy who's looking for a woman who has your strengths. This leads to, because I keep telling you guys these topics are connected, and eventually that leads to the fact of to that conversation about women talking about self-improvement. Ladies, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now, if you're not improving in the things that men are interested in, you in our eyes, you're not doing anything. So you can level up your career all you want to. Most men don't. We care that you're working. Yeah, we want you to be able to take care of yourself. We also care that you're not using your sexuality to make money. You're not selling your sexuality. So, other than outside of that, most women have jobs anyway. They don't have careers, so we don't pay much attention to that outside of those caveats. But I think this is a great conversation. We're gonna keep it moving too, because we're discovering a lot of things that need to be focused on more, particularly the vetting process and how we're raising our daughters. That has got to get better. But look, guys, I'm gonna say goes to the next time. Peace.